What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome on in to Pro Wrestling Weekly right here on the Takedown on SI on YouTube. Hello, hello. Happy Thanksgiving. I'm Zach Haydoorn. That is Blake Lovell. We're a day early because of the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States. Blake, man, are you getting ready to eat some turkey tomorrow?
Zach, I'm getting ready to eat way too much. It's the biggest decision on Thanksgiving is do you go for two or do you go for three? That's always
That's the
the biggest question. It depends on how much is left, which of your favorite items are still available after round two. But yes, getting ready to eat for sure.
Do you have a go-to Thanksgiving you know, layout? Like you're gonna get your turkey, you're gonna get like whatever cranberry sauce. Like what's the game plan? Because I got one in mind and I hit it pretty hard, pretty pretty rudimentary, regimented with that every year.
So you got to know your opponent, right? This is not that much different than professional wrestling. You got to know who you're dealing with in the family. So
You're right
you
about
got to
that.
know what they like. And so it never hurts. Get there a few minutes early. If you hadn't talked to someone in a while, so you still like that sweet potato casserole? Because I'm just curious. If you do, that means I need to get a little extra first
Gotta
time
get
around. So I don't really have, other than just like, I have to zone in on my favorites. All right. At the very beginning, you get a little bit more hoping that there's a round two available for you. But other than that, I'm just like, hey, go identify what you want. It's kind of like a Black Friday sale. Get in, just get to the items you need, get out of there, and whatever's left is left. So
I've been there's been a new curveball in like our Thanksgiving like feast because my nephews who used to be like young kids who didn't eat anything, it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
yeah,
Now they're 15, 16, 17. It's like I gotta beat them to that line, or else that turkey, all the good turkey is gonna be gone.
yeah,
So it's on. It's on tomorrow, Blake. It's on.
yeah.
Gotta get my watch some, John Cena videos or something before I hit the dinner table. Thank you everybody for joining us today. Again, we're a day early. Normally, this show, Pro Wrestling Weekly, is live on the Takedown on SI YouTube channel on Thursdays at this very time. But because of Thanksgiving holiday tomorrow, we moved it up. A lot of great stuff to get to today. We're going to talk Full Gear. We are going to talk the Continental Classic, a little bit of a Survivor Series preview, news and nuggets, and then a couple fun segments planned at the end of the show. If you are watching live, thank you. Welcome. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button, that helps us out greatly. Also, if you're not subscribed to the Takedown on SI YouTube channel, please hit subscribe. We're live with this show every week, but we also have a ton of other content that drops, including, top level interviews with premier wrestlers on in both WWE and AEW. We've got our discussions show. We'll have a full Survivor Series preview show up later this week. So just hit subscribe. You're not going to want to miss that stuff. And we have all other sorts of, nuggets that hit the channel on a regular basis. So hit subscribe. I do have Super Chat enabled if you guys want to get a question or a comment in and make sure that we see it. Throw a little tip in the tip jar, and we'll get to that. I do have the live chat open as well, though. So if you just want to shoot the breeze, ask a question, rant and rave about what we're talking about, that is available to you as well. But Blake, let's start the show today with the big news of the weekend, which is Adam Page is no longer the AEW World Champion. That honor is now bestowed upon Samoa Joe. Joe beating Adam Page essentially clean, I guess. I mean, not really, because there was tons of interference, but it's not illegal in a cage match. So Page loses, and Joe's the champion. Hook is now a member of the Ops and played a pivotal role in Joe winning the title. A couple questions, a couple avenues we can take this discussion, but what do you make of? We'll talk about Joe in a minute, but what do you make of Adam Page losing the title? Because I think that's as big of a story as it is Joe gaining it, and maybe even a bigger one.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one where it doesn't feel like it's been that long ago since he won it, and I know like time frame wise, like this is on the shorter end of what I feel like are most professional wrestling top title reigns in this era that we're used to. Like we talked about that in recent weeks, like with the WWE reigns and all of those. But I think looking back, like you and I, I think we're on the same page. Like I was very definitive of like I didn't think there was any chance that Hangman was losing. My attention was focused on he wins, and then who comes out to confront him. Right, that was my thinking. Was who's going to confront him after? Is it MJF's return? Do you do something another angle? And I know we chatted about it with Rick, where it's like you don't want to get in the habit of doing something at the end of every show because then it becomes like that becomes the expectation. If you don't, it's a letdown. But I just thought the way they built the show, I'm like, they have to do something because this is a rematch. We've already seen it. It's steel cage. Hangman's going to win, but what's the aftermath? Yeah. Well, looking back, I'm like, we always say the money's in the chase, right? And I think at this point, people made some good points. And again, this is where I was so focused on like, I just don't see it happening. Who else was there for him after this? And I think that's kind of one of the problems. You know, you could have went back to Kyle Fletcher, sure. Could have went back to who else? Like, I think that's where I started to look at it and thinking, okay, is Samoa Joe in this current role about as good as it gets for like title programs for Hangman? Now, again, it could have been MJF. We understand all that, but clearly, like, he wasn't the guy that came back. So I think now that I see how it's played out, I probably shouldn't have been surprised as I was, because I think there's a combination of things that were probably working against Hangman in the current title run, to where, and that's not on him. I think it's just a product of maybe there weren't enough people ready to go straight back to a Hangman versus heel, because who were the other heels that felt like they were great options right now? And now that you flip it to Samoa Joe, and of course you get Swerve coming back, and it opens up more fresh, I think, matchups leading to what you feel like is the eventual, maybe Swerve gets it, and then I would say less than a year from now, maybe we're looking at Swerve and Hangman again, you know, next year, all in, whatever. I feel like that's kind of the long-term vision, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. There's two thoughts that I had about this. And number one was, I think AEW has to be careful because, you know, you're not always going to have a confluence of events like Swerve coming back and him being like ready at the exact time that Hangman has run out of, you know, opponents. AEW, in my mind, has to be better at lining up challengers for these, especially baby faces, when you kind of give them the crowning moment at an All In or at any pay-per-view for that matter. I think that AEW's missed the mark on that with Page twice, kind of. Like when you look back to his first run back in 2021, same kind of thing. Like he had the title and then it was, you know, fine. And he kind of worked with some people and then he lost it to CM Punk. And here, the same kind of thing. Like he had some strong matches with MJF and Kyle Fletcher, not bad matches by any means, but I don't think that we've, you know, really seen the Adam Page title run like in full.
Yeah.
Now, maybe that's a good thing because you can keep putting the title back on him and the money is in the chase and that's important. And that was my other thought, which is, well, you know, yeah, like get him on the chase. I mean, that's when Hangman's been most valuable for AEW, when he's chasing down the world title. Add that in with the fact that there really wasn't a lot of opponents. And again, you know, shame on AEW for that. They've got to be better at building opponents. And, you know, they lucked out. Joe can be champion. You can eventually, you know, get that title over to Swerve. And now you're off to the races to a Swerve Hangman match. That would be what I would be looking at here. You know, if you're Tony Khan and you're planning out 2026 and your big summer and what's, you know, going to be the central kind of main storyline. I mean, I think at this point, like that's one of the biggest matches you can do, especially with Swerve back in the fold.
The one thing I did not necessarily love about it, I think it was one of those things where it just came out of left field that Hook was the person that played such a significant role, because I think my thinking was I wasn't even thinking about, and then, like some people say, well, that was the point, but like I don't know if that's the point in a good way. Like I didn't really care about the Hook ops. Like I just was completely over that. Like I just was not that invested in it. And so I thought that was just kind of, you can see why they did it, but I didn't think that was probably my first choice if that's how you were going to execute it, I guess.
Yeah, that was a bit of a wild card. And I don't know. Like I feel like, and this happens in WWE too. So this is not an AEW exclusive comment that I'm about to make. It just seems like you've got these acts turning heel when their babyface run kind of like fizzles rather than like it being like a really kind of momentous turn. It's just kind of like, oh well, we've kind of run its course with Hook as babyface. He's not as hot anymore, so let's just turn him heel. Yeah. And I don't think you gain as much out of that. It's more of like, to me, I look at it and I'm like, man, that's a failed babyface run for Hook. I mean, you had him like piping hot there for a while, and yeah, he had to go away because he had concussion issues and stuff like that. But like, it just, I don't know how well it fits yet. So we'll see with him. But I agree, like on the surface level, it's weird that somebody at that level like was that influential in a world championship match. What do you think about Hook in the ops though? Taking aside the fact that he probably shouldn't have been involved, he is a member of the team now.
It's fine, but like even with how they did it, I can't say that I am like more invested in Hook's story. Like I don't know that I am, because again, like he's someone that, what would you say, like the height of Hook? How long ago was that now? Where it feels like he was really like when he debuted, I feel like he got there pretty quick, of like online reaction, fan reaction, the crowd, like everything. But I just don't. Maybe I'm not what they're aiming at, right? Like maybe it's just another crowd, but I don't really see it as much of a difference to me. It's nice to have, I guess, someone else there that you can play off of now, and you at least have built some story between him and the guy he screwed out of the title. But I don't know. Like, I guess if you're ranking the ops members right now, like where do you place is he? I'm like, I think there's probably a clear 1 and 2, and I think that's Joe and Hobbs. And then I think it's like, okay, do you want to rank? And that's nothing against Shibata. I just think the way they position them, I feel like that is, is Hook 3 or is he 4? I don't know. So.
Yeah. I mean, there's some upside there with Hook, in my opinion. I think there is like kind of like a natural charisma there, but timing's everything. Like you got to strike while the iron's hot, and they clearly weren't ready for him when he was hot, and I don't think they could have been. I don't actually fault AEW for that.
Right. Yeah.
He couldn't do anything. Like he couldn't, you couldn't put him out there in main events or anything like that. So it just like the timing did not add up. We got Atmosphere saying in the chat here, Hook is almost in Travis Scott territory, affecting a match well above anything he should be associated with. Boy, Atlas, that's a mean old comment to Hook, because that Travis Scott thing was horrendous. I don't know that I put this at that level, but I get exactly what you're saying, Blake.
Yeah, I think that it'd be hard to go full Travis Scott here in that instance, but I think, I get the comparison, just because it did feel like something that sort of just came out of nowhere, but they can also push the argument that there was a story involved. So
yeah. All right, so Joe's the champion now. I mean, is he in your eyes, like, is this what, kind of a hold on to this for a little bit because we don't want to do Swerve and Hangman right now. We want to do it later, and so we're gonna just do this Swerve and Joe feud, or is it we really want Joe kind of as this lead heel for a little bit here during the winter slower months of AEW. Like, where are you at on this? Joe's a 2-time AEW World Champion now.
I think the way they've set it up, and it does feel predictable, but again, we kind of know with Tony based on the past, like you at least can tell when there is a direction they are heading in, and you may not know how it unfolds, but you can tell where they want to get to. And I think they have set up their clear direction, which to me is Hangman and Swerve again for the title with Swerve as the champion. And I just think we're talking again, maybe a year from now, a little less than a year from now. Like you could position that next summer almost. And if you're looking at the other options, I think you're waiting on Osprey, which again, the wait could be a while. So like I think Joe is like, hey, he's a safe choice. We can put him and we can position the ops where you've got all these guys, and that's where again having Hook gives you a little more numbers. It's one more, but it gives you different matchups you can run now for several months.
That's a good point.
You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah.
can run those different matchups now, and I think it's like you can get away with some of those where I don't know that Joe has to put the title on the line every single. He doesn't have to be because he can have multi-man matches. He can, and I think that's something they can play around with a little bit. So I feel like it's Joe keeps the title for a little while. I think eventually Swerve's the guy who takes it from him, and then I think you're setting up the long-term direction of Swerve Hangman, Swerve Osprey once he gets back. And I feel like that's where they want to get back to. And I wouldn't blame them because I still think those are your top three in terms of like, most impactful as champions are in the top feud every single week. The promos, like, because we've already kind of seen it, right, with those three guys. So I think that's where you want to get back to. And unfortunately, you just got dealt some bad injury luck with two of the guys. But I think this is the positioning to get back there to where they were originally wanted to get to. We just don't know what it's going to look like. So I think Joe holds the title for a bit.
I think so too. I mean, how crazy is it that, who would have thought when AEW started that Samoa Joe would have more world title reigns than, Cody Rhodes, than Kenny Omega, right? I mean, it's crazy. Like, he's become like a pretty important guy when you look at like the history of the company, especially during this time. I think the formula of like a heel champion works well with Samoa Joe because he's not going to be out there having like the flashy matches like he used to have. But at the same time, he's got a lot of credibility in terms of like just what he's done and the look and the frothing at the mouth promos. Like you can get a lot out of him. Again, not somebody you're going to necessarily build the company around, but as a kind of a holdover champion for kind of like break glass when needed type thing. You can put the title on him and he can hold it for a month or a year. And I think in both instances, he's essentially the same act after that world title reign. Like I think he's pretty much set at this point. So I think he's a good kind of holdover champion because like the other big heels, right? MJF, you don't want to put the belt on him unless you're going to really go with him for a bit. Same thing with Kyle Fletcher. Yes, a heel that could have the championship, but if Fletcher's not in the plans, if he's not somebody that you're, building your big shows around in 2026, like you don't want to put him in that spot just to take the title off him unceremoniously, right? It's like when you go with those guys, it's got to be their time. I don't think it is. So I think Joe, is an interesting curveball, but the right call when you start putting the pieces together.
Yeah, I think if you just wanted to do like the ultimate, like connect the dots, it's like, okay, Joe flips it to Swerve. Swerve eventually flips it to Osprey. And I don't know if he flips it back to Hangman. But then Osprey is the one who is the crowning achievement for Fletcher. Maybe that's not until early 2027 or something.
Yeah, there you go.
So I'm like, you can see them, I mean, a year and a half from now. Like you can see the path to get to everywhere you need to go if you're AEW. It's just, and I don't remember Fletcher's contract situation. Is he still there for a while? Because I mean, he's going to be
there for a while. Yeah, I don't know that he re-signed recently, but I think he had a pretty significant deal. So yeah, I think he's going to be there for a while.
He's a WWE. He's a WWE guy if they want him and he wants to go there because he has all those attributes. But
yeah, he sure does.
Maybe a while.
He sure does. Okay, we mentioned his name a few times. And he made his big return at Full Gear. Swerve Strickland back in AEW. He came out new entrance music, new muscles. Goodness gracious, he was jacked to the gills. He's back, and I think that AEW gets back a really important piece with Swerve Strickland. I mean, and I think so some of you out there right now are probably like, well, duh, Zach. But here's the thing. You came off your hottest show this summer, All In, and you lost like two of the biggest stars that you had on that show. And you kind of had, as a company and as a booker, Tony Khan, had to kind of just tread water for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, and that's where that's where Tony Khan would probably, disagree with me on the Adam Page title run, because he'd look at me and go, well, we lost like two of our big stars and MJF went to film a movie. Like, what were we supposed to do? And I'm sympathetic to that. I get it. But Swerve's back now. And I think he's just become such a valuable guy. He has the look and the aura of a big star. And you felt that at Full Gear. So, I don't know if he's ready to go right now in the ring, but if he is, man, he can't come back soon enough.
Yeah. I think you could argue he's one of their biggest success stories. Like, really, since the start of the company. Like, I just think he hit a level. We talk about guys hitting kind of just a level that not many can reach. Like he did. Like when he was on, before the injury, like this guy, the crowd was just eating it up. And I think that's where, again, you talk about like the big three, Hangman, Swerve, and Ospreay. And you've been having to navigate without two of them, which in some people's minds, like even though the Hangman redemption story was really the story of the year, like in some people's minds, like I think Swerve and Ospreay had reached like the exact same level, or even for some people had eclipsed Hangman. And that's wild to think of, because he was, the central figure here for however long now. So I think, like that to me says a lot about kind of what they've done with him. And I think that, and I know this is my one concern with all the titles that are there, I don't want to just see Swerve all of a sudden become interested in the national championship.
Oh God, no!
Or
please.
You know what I mean? So like, I don't want any of that. To me, he has reached a level where he should be in nothing but world title, main event, personal feuds, and that should be it. I don't want him going for the TNT title. I don't want him going for the national title or any other championship that is there. And I think that's how, to me, you can separate these guys, right? And I know, like, they put other people going after, like Okada had I just forget the championships at this point. But it's like, I don't need any of that. I need Swerve to stay up here. I need Ospreay to stay up here. I need Hangman to stay up here. Keep that core group at the top, because I don't want them thinking about anything other than each other and winning the world title. And hopefully they'll do that.
It's a great call. Because I mean, look, now they've got the national title. They're, at least for a little while, going to tease breaking off the Continental Championship, because that alone is on the line in the Continental Classic, which starts tonight. So like, I'm with you. And the thing is, if you're not going to put, like, not all of those guys can be, the world champion at the same time, obviously, but you still can have them in main event level, high level programs on your show that just aren't for the other titles. Like, not everything has to be centered around a title. So I just don't think it's a good consolation prize to, have Adam Page, now that he lost the world title, to go down and wrestle for the TNT championship or wrestle for the international championship. Like, I think that he's better off having some kind of like blood feud with, I don't know, Mox or MJ or whatever, name that heel that's on his level, than it is dropping down to one of those secondary titles. Yeah. It's a great call.
We'll see. Speaking
of the Continental Classic, let's preview that for a little bit here. That starts tonight. It's AEW's version of the G1, essentially. It's round robin. There are two leagues, the Gold League and the Blue League. I'll read through the participants in each. For the Gold League, we've got Kazuchika Okada, Kyle Fletcher, Darby Allin, Mike Bailey, Pac, and Kevin Knight. And then in the Blue League, we've got Konosuke Takeshita, Orange Cassidy, Jon Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Roderick Strong, and Mascara Dorada. I have a full preview of this year's Continental Classic tournament up on the Takedown on SI right now, so you can head there, check it out. Predicted all the matches, 30 matches plus. And you can check that out and read my full preview, and I hope you do. But Blake, that field, what do you make of that field for the Continental Classic? Are you excited? Where are you at on this year's tournament?
Yeah, I think the curious thing is the Kyle O'Reilly part of the equation. I think that was one that, and obviously they talked about after the match with Moxley, and you and I were just like, hey, momentum, and it's like brutal.
Crazy.
Yeah, just not going to happen. It seems like.
It sucks.
Yeah, it's just brutal because I think that was everything, and so you just wonder, was he perhaps going to be in there for Roderick Strong or something like that? I've seen some people kind of debate that, but I mean, listen, you're going to get great matches. I don't think there's any question about that. When you look at the field, I'm excited to see like a Mascara Dorada in there, just because do I expect him to win? Of course not, but like the matches will deliver, just based on what we've seen with him, over the past while. There are the obvious intriguing ones with Darby and Okada. I think it's just one of those that you're just like, Darby and Okada. Yep. That's just a random match on a Collision, sometime or whatever. So
I hope it's not on Collision. I hope
it's not going to be. They can't do that, Zach. They have to at least have that kind of awareness. They cannot put that match on Collision. No, that should be a dynamite match for sure. But the Kyle Fletcher with Okada and Darby and Pac and all those, and then of course on the other side, I think one of the biggest stories of the Blue League will be Moxley. Because I'm kind of with your thinking, and I won't spoil how many points you have Moxley finishing with, but I kind of think that's where we're headed. Is there's no interference, and so I think we're going to keep the story going of like Moxley just simply has hit a rut based on the story they told at Full Gear and before, and I think that winds up maybe being the way this whole thing goes. I'm like, hey, they're going to eventually turn on Moxley, aren't they? And we've been waiting for months and months and months now, but I feel like this has to be the catalyst here to where, based on how this finishes and knowing you're going to get the Moxley and Claudio match, I'm like, there has to be something there, I think, to really make that push to get this where we all know it's headed towards. So
I agree. I when you look at the leagues and you see Claudio and Moxley in the same one, it's like, okay. To me, that's like a pretty strong giveaway or hint that you're going to get some of this drama between the Death Riders playing out in this tournament. But
that should be the last match too. I forgot to mention that. I think that should be the last match, is those two together of the league matches, to see if you're going to have more intrigue if you do it that way. So
yeah. No, I think that's a good point. And just look at the tournament, the leagues. I think on one hand, I always think in AEW, these leagues look weird because they don't include like all of the top guys. Like what makes G1 so special is that all of the big guys are in it, no matter what. And here you don't have Adam Page in it. You don't have MJF in it. You don't have Will Ospreay in it, obviously, because he's injured. Like it's Mascara Dorada, great wrestler, but not a guy that you're like, oh, this guy could win and go on to something big. So that's always a little not disappointing, but just I just wanted to like feel like the G1 in that regard. That said, though, I think that they've woven some really interesting storylines into this. Like when you look at the blocks and then you look at the blocks together, I think it's going to be a heavy Don Callis family tournament in terms of like story, because you've got Kyle Fletcher and Okada in the same block, and then you've got Takeshita in another block, right? So that dynamic is going to be there in terms of, are these three going to be on the same page? Who's going to advance? Are they going to wrestle? I mean, we know Okada and Fletcher will wrestle each other, but will Takeshita and Okada ever? So I think that's a really fun angle. We just talked about the Death Rider stuff. You've got that can weave through this entire tournament, but also you've got, I think, like Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey You know, like they're
Yeah.
a tag team and they're in the same block, right? That you're going to be able to get some storyline out of that. Orange Cassidy is in this tournament. I mean, he could easily be, you know, the underdog story guy in the tournament. Darby Allin is a crazy man. Like, so, you know, that's going to be something to watch. So I think that there's like a really strong reason to like want to tune into this on a week in and week out basis. And so while they don't have all the big stars, I think I'm higher on this year's lineup than I was the previous 2 years.
Yeah, I think to me the breakout guy in this should be Kevin Knight. I think he should be the guy we're talking about coming out of it because I mean, look, he's 28, but I think he does have like some of those intangibles that some of the other guys don't. Like I even like with Speedball, I have nothing against him, but I think Kevin Knight has the higher upside in terms of like I could see him as a future world champion in the right scenario, right? And I think that's where you do have these now where again you've seen him as partners, you've seen him as singles, of course, coming into this, but he's always been someone I think I've had my eye on for years, just in terms of I see the path there for him, and so if you can have and look at the people he's facing, right? Look at all of his matches. Darby, Okada, Fletcher, Pac, Speedball. Like,
it's crazy.
He has the opportunity. Yeah, like he has the opportunity to just, go on a run here that he is one of the talking points coming out of this. So, who does he beat from that group? I don't know. But I wouldn't be shocked if, like, let's say they gave him the opportunity to all of a sudden maybe he upsets 2 people right off the bat or something. You're thinking, wait a second. Like, is Kevin Knight going to go on, the run for the ages? And like, this is how you can, because tournaments are so hard because you can't always just build up the stories. And that's always been the biggest, thing people will say about tournaments, especially like one night only. That's the difference in this one. But like, you can tell a good story with someone like him over the next, several weeks to where I think he should be one of the main talking points. It shouldn't just be about the winner or shouldn't just be about Moxley. I think he should be someone, and maybe they have someone else pegged in that spot, but I think he's the best choice in terms of like breakout star of this thing.
When I was doing the full preview, which again you can find on the Takedown on his eye right now, I picked like in my head, I was like, well, you're gonna get Bailey or Knight as like the standout or like the up and coming standout performer guy in the tournament. The guy who goes above and beyond expectations. Now I went with Bailey as to who like to be that guy in the end, but I think like if you were to like delete Mike Bailey from like the story that I wrote and just drop Kevin Knight's name in, I think a lot of that booking and a lot of that narrative can be the same for both of those guys. But just that block itself, man, like, it's not like an embarrassment of riches in terms of like star power necessarily, but the matches, like if you're going to just kick back, there's not a bad match in that thing. Yeah. Like it's wild. Atlasphere's in the live chat here, and he says, I'd prefer to have all the top stars in the tournament, but the prize is half of a title that Okada has been dragging around with zero prestige. Yeah, Blake, I think they got to fix this. I think they got to fix the stakes of this tournament. How much bigger would this feel if there was a title shot, a world title shot on the line? Like, nobody cares about the Continental Championship. Like, truthfully, like it's not even. I don't think it's a thing that people think about as being its own like standalone entity at this point, especially when it's unified with the international championship with Okada. Like, I at some point, I think you have the tournament established now. It's a thing that's going to happen every year. Like, treat this as something that just gives the winner a title shot at Revolution or something to that end. I think that's a lot more of a prestigious prize for this grand tournament than the Continental title, right? I'm not crazy.
How many hardcore AEW fans do you think forget sometimes that Okada is the unified champion? Like, I think it's easy to get confused. Like, just by the number of titles, it's easy to get confused and be like, oh, yeah, that's right, because I don't really know how to separate the meaning for each of these titles. Because other than the world title, I don't know that there is a way to separate them. It's like Ricochet's the national champion. How's that different than Okada being the unified champion? or Mark Briscoe being the TNT champion, other than the fact that it has a longer lineage in AEW. Like,
right.
There's no separation. So I think, yeah, it should be for a world title shot. I think that's the easiest way to make this feel more important. And now, like we said, you've got an expanded schedule where you got plenty of world title matches you can have in prime spots, whether it's a special Dynamite where it's, you got a world title match, great, or it's one of these pay-per-views that you're doing every single month now. So it doesn't. That's where, again, the stories are going to have to drive this, because in all honesty, like, whoever wins, it'll be a great match in the final, but I don't really actually care what they're winning here. I'm actually more invested in the how they get there. So
yeah. All right. So speaking of winners, who you want to throw out as your pick to click on this?
Here's the predicament I have, and that is: do you want to give away Okada and Takeshita without being able to promote it? Because you're doing the semifinals and finals on the same night, you can't go in promoting that match. Now, you could lead people into thinking, okay, you're going to get that. And maybe that's the point, right? Is that, hey, we're going to give you a semifinal that you're getting Okada and Takeshita. But what happens if you don't? Think about the underwhelming feeling that's going to be for people at World's End. So I think that's a little tricky for me. Here's another thing to consider. Do you want either one of them losing before the Tokyo Dome? But you've got to beat one of them either way. You got to beat one of them, because whether they get to the final or not, they're going to have to lose to get to the end, right? So somebody has to lose in this tournament. Once you get to the elimination style. But I'm like, I don't know that I have a better option, because we know they want to do the match, but I almost think, Zach, they can hold this off longer. How much longer, I don't know, but that's where, again, I think the whole, unless you're just like, hey, this is not AEW, this is New Japan, we don't really care what, all that, maybe that's it. So I think Takeshita and Okada is the best choice for the final if you're just seeing the way this thing is built. I think you can play out the Moxley Death Rider stuff without needing that in the final. I don't think Darby needs to be there necessarily. And I just... unless it's Fletcher, right? Unless, let's say, Kyle Fletcher is there again, which I could see. I do think Okada Takeshita is the best choice, and I think. See, it's tricky, man, because
like what kind of made me pause was they're doing the thing where, like, the winner of the Gold League is going to take on the runner-up in the Blue League. So you could have a scenario, if you wanted, where you could actually you could promote Takeshita and Okada,
but it would feel lesser than. Like,
that's the thing. It would feel so you'd get the time to promote it, but it'd be a semifinal match, and one of them would have already lost the block. So I mean, so there's that. I took Takeshita and Okada in the final, and with Okada winning, and the reason I did that was because I think. This is when you look at the tournament, it's like I just couldn't find anything else that, like, were there interesting options? Sure, like a star-making run for Mike Bailey, or or Darby Allin gets his big moment or his big run. All that would have been interesting, but, like, logically, based on what they've been doing, it just seems to me that, like, they're on a collision course with this Takeshita and Okada thing, and if Okada wins, like, if he wins the tournament with underhanded measures, or maybe Don Callis turns on Takeshita, you get whatever, you can do that match again down the road for, either a grudge match or a bigger title or the Continental title, who knows? But I think, like, a heel Okada win over Takeshita in the final, like, leaves the door open, because I feel like that story ends with Takeshita beating Okada. And that's what I don't think you want to pull the trigger on quite yet. The match, okay, I think you can do that, but you got to hold off on that big Takeshita win until later.
Yeah, I think no matter what, you're getting a Don Callis family final, and, like, it's you can throw Fletcher in there in some pairing, right? Like, I think that's how this ends. Like, even the thing with Darby, I don't want Darby anywhere near this championship.
Exactly.
Like, I don't want him anywhere near it. And that's where I'm like, but to do that, you got to beat him quite a bit in this tournament to keep him out of there.
Yeah.
So I feel like you're kind of stuck with Darby here because he shouldn't be losing all these matches and should be in the semifinals, all things considered. But I don't care. I don't need him with this championship. He's another guy. Keep him locked in on the world title and or personal feuds. Keep him away from everything else. Like, I just think Darby is supposed to be like different and special. It's great that he's in this tournament, but I almost feel like it's a lose-lose. So I don't know.
So I'm going to put you on a name though. Who are you picking?
I'll go Okada. I think he's probably the best one because him winning continues the story better than Takeshita winning, or even a Kyle Fletcher winning. I don't know that Fletcher needs to win, so I'll go Okada too. And if you do want to tie in the New Japan thing, which again is separate from AEW, that gives Okada all the momentum in the world heading into the Tanahashi match. So, it's like he's at the top of his game, and that he goes in like, hey, this is the old Okada, right? I think that's probably a fine story too.
Got a Samoa Joe fan in the chat. From Alcoholic Fletcher says Joe. So we got a Samoa Joe fan. Now he's not in the Continental Classic, but thanks for
Thank
checking
goodness.
in. We appreciate you. We'll have full coverage of the Continental Classic all tournament long at the Takedown on SI. Make sure that you're bookmarking our site there for all your pro wrestling updates and your daily wrestling news, fix, features, and so much more. The Takedown on SI.com. Okay. Quick high-level Survivor Series chat here. We're going to do a full preview along with Rick Ucchino on the channel a little bit later. That's going to drop closer to the event this weekend. But it's Survivor Series weekend. It's War Games. The show is built around War Games. Blake, what grade do you give this overall as like hype for, I guess, which is a Big Four pay-per-view still, is it? I'm not even really sure it is anymore, but, nonetheless.
C+, B-. I'm not as interested as I was last year. I think obviously you had the story of the Bloodline reuniting last year, and I know for some people it's run its course by now, but like at that time last year, that was something that it felt different because you're getting everybody back together, and even though I think they rushed that a little bit of just how they all came back kind of pretty quickly, it was at least still something that I was interested in. I think I've been a little underwhelmed by like even the Cody Punk Reigns thing on Monday. Like, I know probably, and they always say it, right? It's, hey, the fans in the building reacted. That's all that matters. And understood. Great. I wasn't in the building. But I didn't think it was as big as it could have been. Like, it just felt like, hey, here's your top three guys, and they're just kind of arguing over some pretty superficial stuff, and that's it. Like, I like sort of the tease of Reigns. At least you have the cliffhanger of, hey, is he going after Cody? Is he going after Punk? I like that, but like the story, and I guess I could understand you don't really need the greatest story to tell if you just have the lineup, right? Because you know that the story is going to once again be the special of WWE, can they coexist? Like every single match has to be, can they coexist? Whether it's men's, women's, whatever, like that's the story, especially it seems like for the baby faces all the time. And that's where we are this year. Like they hit us so hard on Monday with Jay and Jimmy are on the same page. They're not going to be on the same page at Survivor Series. We know Jay's going to do something. It's going to screw that up, and all hell's going to break loose. And I think that's the only thing. Like I almost am more intrigued by the women's match, even though the men's match is more star-studded, because I think you've got can a Lash Legend be like a breakout type performer in this match. Yeah. You've got, Rhea and Charlotte. That dynamic, yes. To me, I think the Rhea-Charlotte dynamic is just as interesting as the Cody Punk Reigns stuff, just because they have a bit of a longer history together, and they've had classic matches. And, AJ and Becky, like there's another one. We're going to get to that one-on-one match at some point. And can I just quickly, and I don't want to get us off track here, but Becky Lynch, I truly believe, is doing the best work of her career. And I realize she main evented WrestleMania and has achieved historic things. She is fantastic right now. And it's not just me saying it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean,
finish.
Zach, it's not just me saying it. I mean, Sports Illustrated saying it too. But like even her whole shtick on Twitter, which we know who it's patterned after and all that right now, like it is just she is at the absolute top of her game. And so anything Becky's in, I'll watch. So I give it a C+ or C+, B-, just because could they have done more? Sure, but I'm still interested. And I forgot Dominic Cena. I think we mentioned this last week. It's fine. I know why they're doing it. A rematch, I can't say I'm thrilled about, but it's fine. So
I'm right there where you are. I'm at B-, and I give it a B- from a C+. I put it in B territory because of the lineup that WarGames has. Like because you have Roman, because you've got Brock and Punk and Cody and Drew, and so I think they could have done better with the story. I always roll my eyes, man, and if you're in the chat and you disagree with this, let me know. But like the baby faces not getting along, or can they coexist? Like we've been there and we've done that so often where it's not just once a year, even for WarGames, it's twice a year because you get it in the women's match and the men's match. And I don't know, sometimes I think it would have been better. This, obviously in my opinion, but it's our show. So that's the whole point.
Yeah.
I just think it would have been better to see Roman, Punk, and Cody just cut a promo about how they're on the same page. They're on the same page, and look out, Vision, because we're on the same page and we're going to kick your butt at WarGames. Like, I think that's more compelling than, oh, Roman is bickering with Punk and Punk is bickering and it's my team, or no, it's my team. It's just like, what are you guys, like 10? I just think it'd be more interesting to see these guys on the same page. And I think that's what fans want. I mean, it's a reason why they pop for Roman, opposite. It's just, I think that there's a uniqueness to seeing them together, and that's fun. And like, I don't feel like we ever get that opportunity in WWE because it's always can they coexist story. Always.
Well, that's like Atmosphere in the chat. Exactly. Here's the great point. It's like, I feel like every tag team match they do is just, can they coexist? Can they coexist? Like, that is the go-to. Like, no one likes anybody. Like, everyone hates each other. It's like, then, now, forever together. How about they just replace it with everyone hates everybody? Like, that's just, there's our new tagline. Yeah, like, just, I mean, that's the story of teams. It's like, we will put together a team just so we already can plant in your mind, as soon as they're put together, when are they going to break up? Like, that's how it works. So
it is. Atmosphere says here, I want to argue with you, Zach. Well, that's good because it's fun when we argue on the show. But the can they get along is always in WarGames, but they also do it in tag matches and such the other 51 weeks during the year. Yeah, they do. And then maybe that's why it's wore on me so much. It's just like, come on. And I don't know. Like, why? I just think they come across as like petulant, kids on a schoolyard, like, picking teams for kickball or something. Like, it's just like, Roman, just like, I think you could still deliver that line at the end, right? You could still have like a pure babyface promo between those guys, and then have Roman go, but guys, that title would look better on me, and then leave. Like, you could still have that. That's still there, but it can be done not in this petulant, whiny, bickering kind of way. We will have a full Survivor Series preview for you right here on the channel later this week. So once you're got your fill of Thanksgiving food, head on over to the channel and check out our full preview. We'll be with Rick Ucchino, and we'll have match-by-match analysis and predictions on the full Survivor Series show. All right. I want to wrap up with a couple cool segments here. Some fun, just fun, like, Thanksgiving week segments, Blake. So I ask you, Blake Level, what are you most thankful for in pro wrestling so far this year? Let's throw out some positive, thankful vibes ahead of Thanksgiving tomorrow.
All right. So Becky Lynch is number one. I said that a minute ago. I think not just from the fact that I think she's been one of the best in wrestling period this year, but Sports Illustrated, the Takedown on SI also appreciates Becky Lynch. We are thankful for Becky. Something else I was thinking of, and like we are in the middle of the whole streaming like just bubble of just chaos everywhere. But one of the things I've thought about is I'm at least thankful that we do have ways to watch as much stuff as we have the ability to watch. Like, I'm glad if I want to go pay, which I know it's a high price, if I want to go watch CMLL, I can go to their YouTube channel and watch CMLL. Like, I can find a way to watch it, right? And it's like back in the day, it wasn't always possible that you could go see all this stuff. And so, like, even though I think the streaming stuff, we've talked about YouTube and everything and YouTube TV and how everything's just kind of been wild there. I'm at least thankful it's, and it can be a gift and a curse because you are exposed to everything. For some people that's like, maybe let's go back to the territory days where I only see what I see and that's fine. But I will say that and the reason I thought about that, Zach, is we're making our like top 5 lists on all of our awards for the end of year stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, like there's so much to choose from. And it's like, oh yeah, because I've seen that from CMLL. I've seen Mystico and MJF. I've seen, this in New Japan. I've seen this, and it's just, so I'll say that. Like, at least we have ways to watch all this stuff. Whereas, I mean, look, it hasn't always been that way, folks. So
that's a really good one. It is so true. I mean, now if you want a good wrestling match, like if you just want to kick back, crack open a beer and watch a good wrestling match on any day at any time, you can. And it's not hard to find. It really isn't. Everything's at your fingertips. I think that's interesting. Now, like that comes with a price, I think, too. Mm-hmm. But look, we all love wrestling. So, I think that's a really good one. Atlas Fear says we all should be thankful for SmackDown going back to 3 hours. This is what we're thankful for, Atlas Fear, not what we're not thankful for. No. We'll play that game a different time.
Yes.
That'd probably be a more, certainly a more interesting segment. You kind of like stole mine, Blake. But I have this whole diatribe here about Becky Lynch and the 2025 that she's had so far. I think, to your point, she has been the most fun pro wrestler to watch, in the business, like across companies. Like, I think, first of all, I'm a big star person when it comes to pro wrestling. Like, I think having big stars show up and do big star things is important. Yes, you need to have good matches, and yes, you need to have good stories, but ultimately people care about those things because the star power is big. Yeah. And I just think Becky consistently, and there's some others in both companies that do this, but I think Becky consistently presents as a wrestling star, a pro wrestling star that knows the job, right? She's out there to get heat. She's got to get Maxine Dupree over somehow. She's got to, get Lyra Valkyria over somehow. She has good matches with all of them, and then is able to get on the microphone this week and cut a promo where just backhanded compliments to her own team. That was just so great. I'm thankful for Becky Lynch this year. I think pro wrestling would not have been as exciting without her on television on a semi-regular basis. So there you go. Becky Lynch is my my Thanksgiving hat tip. Thank you, Becky. All right. And we'll finish the show like we finish every show here. Name that main event. Blake, fire it at will.
All right, so we started with you first picked, I think, the 2000s, and then you picked the 90s. So I'm making you go back to the 80s here.
I knew this was coming. I knew it was coming. I knew it.
For this choice here, we're gonna get this 80s one out of the way. All right, this should be pretty easy, but there's a reason I'm choosing this one. Okay, this is gonna be the easiest one you've had so far. You've got the team of Hillbilly Jim, Coco Beware, Hercules. Now, I'm saying those three first because I want you to remember they were part of this team. Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage against Akeem, the Big Boss Man, Ted DiBiase, King Haku. Let's remember to crown the man. He was King Haku at the time. And none other than the Red Rooster, Terry Taylor himself. 5-on-5 match. I mean, you already know what
event.
You know the event. You just got to get the year right. So
I got to get the year right. So here's where I'm going with the year. So it's Survivor Series. We know this.
Of course.
And it's back when Survivor Series was just, a tool to fight Jim Crockett Promotions for Vince McMahon. Okay. But the year is throwing me. I'm going to say, when was the first Survivor Series? 1987?
You've really got two choices here based on the fact that there are two elements in the match that you know the story. You've just got to figure out which year was it told in.
I know, I do. I'm going to say, you know what? Because I'm going to say 1988 Survivor Series.
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner.
Yes!
It is 1988. And again, this, of course, is kind of, mega powers. Things are interesting at this time. And, all of a sudden, the Saturday night's main event, what is it? Less than basically a month later. They did it in January. That's where you have the whole famous just, Hogan Savage thing with Elizabeth and all that. And so,
that's actually 89, right?
Yeah, so they had the Saturday night's main event January 7th, 89. So they team up here. You come out of this, all right, Mega Powers are still together, blah, blah, blah. They get to Saturday night's main event where Akeem and Boss Man take them out. Elizabeth's helping Hogan, and then Savage is getting pissed off. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, what is it? The main event 2, that was in February. That's where they faced Akeem and Boss Man again, the Twin Towers. And, that's where you had the whole thing where Hogan takes Elizabeth to the back, leaves Savage, and then you get the famous backstage segment. So
it's that's a great one and a timely one, given that Survivor Series is this weekend. God, it's fun to reminisce about these old shows, because you just think like when this happened, Survivor Series, 1998, you have that main event, you have Hogan and Savage on the same page. Like at that time, you had no idea what was about to come, concerning Savage and Hogan and the big WrestleMania, and so it's interesting to kind of put yourself back at that moment and be like, oh, it's a fun little tag team match, no big deal. And little did we know.
To this day, Zach, I would still argue it's the best storyline in WWE history. Is the Mega Powers? I still think it's the best. Yeah, so
hard to argue. I mean, you could put some others up there with it, but there's no argument for me. I mean, just because it's an iconic storyline. Yeah. All right. More Name That Main Event next week. We'll put a bow on it right there. Thank you, Blake. Thank you to everybody who joined us today in the live chat. Appreciate you guys and finding us on a new day this week to accommodate the holiday. We'll be back next week with more Pro Wrestling Weekly. We'll talk all about WarGames and probably a lot about John Cena's final match, which is coming up here in just a couple weeks. Once again, follow us on social media, SI_wrestling on Twitter. That's where you can find all of our articles, all of our stuff, interact with the brand and us over there. Make sure you head into takedownonsi.com on a regular basis. We are loading that with all the news of the day, but also some really cool editorial features and specials. We'll have a ton of John Cena content coming up. So lock that down. Make sure you bookmark us. And finally, if you haven't subscribed to the channel here, the Takedown on SI on YouTube, do that. And like this video if you can. Helps us out, helps us grow, helps us with the old algorithm. And we thank you in advance for that. We've got some really fun content up right now. An interview with Kyle Fletcher that John Alba did. I've got an interview with Wheeler Yuta up there. And of course, later this week, we will have a full Survivor Series match-by-match preview show with predictions and everything in between. Blake, Happy Thanksgiving, my friend.
Happy Thanksgiving, Zach, and everyone else out there. Enjoy it.
See ya.